Nah. Nah.
Is your asshole itch?
No.
Get your ass up.
Okay.
Welcome to the I Regret Nothing podcast.
I Regret Nothing podcast.
Sweet.
With Mike J and Pedro.
I regret nothing.
I regret nothing.
We regret nothing.
I regret everything. Everything I've ever done. We're back live, everyone. And look who it is. Look who we got here today. We have someone who actually means something to the world, not just three jerk-offs from Running with Scissors. We have the infamous Zack Ward.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Yeah, he is decided to grace our lowly shit podcast with his presence. He's decided to elevate the quality of our crap. We are now gold-covered crap. So, thank you for taking time out of your busy day, especially in the holiday season when you had a brand spanking new movie come out in the last couple of weeks. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much.
I did watch it the other night, and while I am a fan of Christmas Story, I do watch it every single year. As a Jew, I watch Christmas Story every year. I have not seen any of those unofficial sequels, but I did watch this one, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it, and I was waiting for your cameo, and I was absolutely not surprised with how good it was.
Thank you very much.
It was very good. I don't know if anybody else here watching or on the show has had a chance. You got a chance to watch it. Yeah, it was great.
Had a chance.
And as a movie watcher myself, obviously I've seen Zack in a lot of other things over the years, namely Deadwood, because that was one of the things I watched many, many times. But if you didn't know, he was in a little movie called Postal back in the day. He played the postal dude. So for those that are like, who the fuck's Zack Ward? Well, this is the postal dude, bro. This is the film version of the postal dude. And currently, the only place to watch that movie other than a DVD bought from our website or Steam, which nobody watches movies on Steam, is currently Tubi. I don't even know what that is, but Postal is...
Well, that's good, actually, because it monetizes every time people watch it with the commercials, so you might make money.
We won't, but Uva will. Our money was already made, which was basically nothing. And any other money we would have made would have been on DVD sales because they were including the Postal game with it. Right. And I'm sure we'll get into this later, but when the theatrical run of the movie got completely shit-canned, the DVD run of the movie also got shit-canned. And, and Best Buy and Walmart and all them cut their orders down by an order of magnitude. And so the money that we were looking to get, which was pretty large, became infinitesimally smaller. And
yeah, I had the experience with the Titus show.
Yeah, I was going to get to that as well. That's obviously the first major thing I remembered you from when they announced you were playing the Postal Dude was Titus, because that was a show I know Pedro is a huge fan of back in the day on Fox. And
ironically, I'm going to be later on today. I'm doing an interview with Cracked Magazine. They're going to do an oral history of Titus. Nice. So one of the reporters or one of the contributors to Cracked Magazine, can't remember his name off the top of my head, but they're doing a full piece on the Titus show because of how edgy and funny and fantastic it was, and that's like 20 years later, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's one of the many shows that Fox has failed to advance despite it being so good. We'll just throw it on the list with, Arrested Development, Firefly, a bunch of other things. But one of our questions, and we'll just move it up, was from Pedro, and he was going to ask you, how did it feel to do the Titus reunion stuff? Just talk about Titus for a minute, because I realized that was like a big time in your life. And
yeah, it was a lot of fun. Christopher and I have been very good friends ever since. When he came up with the idea to do that, I thought it was awesome. We talked about the story ideas, where the characters would be X amount of years later, how to incorporate Stacy Keach into the project, knowing that he's an older man, and so certain things are difficult for him. And it was during COVID, so you can't just have him exposed, you know. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. There's something about doing a live show performance like we did on the original Titus show. So we would do it in front of a 500-person audience, and we did it in real time. Meaning, if you're sitting in the audience, there'd be monitors up above you, and then you'd have the neutral space and the flashbacks play, and then they go black. The stage is all blacked out. Like you can't see it. There's no lights. So you're sitting in the audience and there's big monitors above you and you're watching the show there. And then it goes black there. And then 1, 2, 3, the lights come up on the stage. And then the scene starts that we're all in acting. And so we do all that, blah, 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 blah. And then cut, stop, we freeze, the lights go down. And then the monitor comes back up for you to see more neutral space and flashback, the same way it was done when you watch the show at home. So it was edited on the fly for the audience in the stage to have the same experience that you would at home, which is really cool. So it was a really organic process with the audience. And at one point, I remember Titus went on, what's the guy, Baba Booey, Howard Stern. He went on Howard Stern, and Howard Stern was busting his balls for the laugh track. And Chris was like, we don't have a laugh track, man. We don't use one at all. We actually have to cut the laughs down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing to have that live energy with the audience. And it really is an educational process. The way you can relate to it, anybody can relate to this, is if you've ever been to the beach, everybody on this has been to a beach at one time in their life. Yes. Right?
All the time.
Yep.
And you are wearing shorts, or you've rolled your pants up and you walk into the water and it's coming up to about your knees, right? And you can feel the wave. You can feel the energy of the wave pushing. You can close your eyes and you can basically tell when the next wave is coming, right? You know that moment. That's exactly what it feels like when you're doing live comedy. When you're doing live comedy, you feel the buildup of the momentum of the dialogue, the setup, and then the payoff. And then here comes that laugh.
Yep.
And then you have a reaction to someone says something funny, and then you've got a reaction like, what the fuck? And then the second laugh comes. And literally it is exactly that same feeling. It's like a give and take and an ebb and flow with the audience. It was an amazing experience. So when you get into that and you do that for 3 years, do 54 episodes, and you're working with someone, you get your comedy rhythm in. You know how to hear each other and play off of one another. And it's a lot of fun. It's like having a superpower, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And for anybody out there, if you get the chance to be on the live audience sitcom or do something where you're funny, it's the greatest experience with an audience because they love you and you're making them happy. So to answer your question, coming back to doing the reunion special that Christopher produced and wrote and directed, was great, was awesome, was a lot of fun. I also saw how fat I was, and that was good. Yeah.
I don't think you're fat, but
I'm not now. But when I did that, I had been a lot of this. Glaggity gliggity glue.
Well, it was COVID times, right? Everybody was sitting at home baking bread and not working out and doing.
So
those things.
yeah, that's so that was what you see that on camera and you're like, oh, my neck was up to my ears. That's not good.
Well,
So,
you didn't just try that like puffed up carrot top look.
Yeah. Yes, that's one of the many reasons why I quit drinking. But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and I still to this day, like, I'll be seeing Chris on Christmas, and we enjoy each other's company immensely, and very easily and quickly fall into a rhythm of comedic timing.
Yeah, of course.
It's delicious. It's fun.
Well, they say that
Awesome.
like not any actor, but most actors can do drama. It's not hard. It's getting that comedic timing, especially with other people, that is really hard to do. Even edited, it's hard to do, right? Like it's impossible.
Well, look at the movie Postal. There's so many moments in that film where you go, no,
right? Yeah,
that's not how that should be.
Of course.
Let's do the editing, and
Right.
they don't. So
Well,
we'll save that for later. So the Christopher Titus stuff,
Yeah.
the fact that Cracked Magazine is doing an interview with me later on today to
That's
talk
awesome.
about is very exciting. And it's funny. I'll give you a little taste because Chris, when I got the request, I called Chris right away to make sure that this was on the up and up. I don't know. You got to corroborate with your boy.
Sure.
And he was like, yeah, he talked to the guy and he starts making jokes like, yeah, and I was telling him how you were farting on set all the time. And yeah, that happened. That happened.
What are you going to do?
I was into the protein shakes as Mike, you know, the protein shakes back in the day were nuclear on your stuff.
Lots of gas.
You gotta go.
Lots of gas.
Yeah. And so, but I'm going to tell them a story about how I farted to save a woman from humiliation. I threw myself on a fart grenade. And so I look forward to you guys all.
In front of 500 live studio audience people.
Not only did I throw myself on a fart grenade out of pure kindness. And when you read the story, you'll be like, what a great guy Zack is with that fart. But not only did that have to happen in front of 500 people, bad enough. Cut to a few years later, I see a thing on the television, Fox bloopers and practical jokes. Sure enough, the outtake of me on stage in front of 500 people farting is now making it into a program, and I got a residual check off of that. I was like, that is the button.
Right. That's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
That's a win-win for
everybody.
everybody.
I mean, you didn't shit your pants. You didn't shit your pants on stage.
But the world has witnessed me pass gas and paid me for it. And I don't know if there's anything more entitled than that.
No, I mean, the fart joke has been around for a long time, and usually the fart joke isn't actually a real fart.
Yeah, but commitment, this guy.
No, that's method. That is method acting, friends. He doesn't just stick his ass out. He actually saves one in the chamber.
My butt yells, Stella, right?
Stella! Well, actually, our first question was going to be what was your favorite project? And I mean, obviously, you have tons of roles. We were looking through your IMDb, but the way you talk about Titus, that might have been your favorite project to work on.
It was, and so I mean, they're all very different. You know, Titus was an incredible learning experience. In the first season, I was always very interested in the writing process, and I would go up to the writer's room and I'd sort of peek my head in and I'd listen to them pitching ideas, and I'd try and throw something out and they go, hey, Zack, how about you shut the fuck up and get out of the room?
Yeah.
I was like, okay. Second season, I would be pitching an idea and they'd be like, no, that's fucking horrible, but I'll tell you why.
Nice.
Okay. And then third season, I pitched some ideas and they're like, that's really good. And they put it in the show, and I was like, yes.
Well, that's, you paid your dues with the writers.
Yeah, I guess I was learning to, and I learned so much through that process. It was such a huge part of my life, in front of the camera and behind the camera with my own personal life and so forth, going through divorces and everything.
Yep.
But making people laugh and making them connect with you, and then with the character of Dave. What an amazing character to play, because he's funny, he's goofy, he's a pothead, and he's kind of a genius, and he's emotionally open. Like there was an episode we did called Tommy's Not Gay, and great episode, brilliant, heartbreaking, hilarious episode. And I did this thing where David Shatraw plays Tommy. His father had come out of the closet and he's freaking out. He's like, does that mean I'm going to be gay? And we're in a bar and I drink some beer and I go, here, hold this. And I turn around, and I grab him and I kiss him. And I kiss him and I push him down on top of a pool table. And his leg is pounding and I'm kissing him. We're going, mwah! Like that? He goes, no. I'm like, then you're not gay. There's two other things I can try. He's like, no. And
you are now.
So I think that I think that was season 2. And in season 3, what we noticed is that I ended up having this huge fan club. Like I felt like a Beatle at certain moments. It was crazy. There were all these teenagers and they were with signs, we love you, Dave, and all this stuff. And what I noticed, and remember, this is 20 years ago, 23 years ago, there was a lot of LGBTQ kids out there. Yeah. And what I loved about that is, in my backstory, I grew up, my mom's an actress. I grew up backstage around theater people. There was a gentleman by the name of Doug Grass who raised me for a few years. He was like an auntie to me, big gay man who was I loved dearly, and later on in life he was beaten to death with a ball peen hammer. Horrific. So I was exposed to a world of people who were disenfranchised and fearful,
Yeah.
and yet I got to know them as people as I was a kid, and they're lovely, sweet, kind people, and some of them are assholes just like everybody else.
Sure.
But what was interesting is how this fan club sort of crossed the spectrum of like the teenage girls, oh yay, and then also teenage boys who with long hair who are seeming a little crossing the lines of what their identity is, but they're feeling connected to Dave because Dave didn't give a fuck as long as you were a good person. And I thought that was awesome. That was really cool to have that connection. So it was an awesome character to play, and so well rounded in a very honest way. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that actually ties pretty closely into Postal itself. I mean, like, our fan community really does span the spectrum. I mean, obviously, we've got a lot of, hardcore gun nuts that just want to go into games and shoot whatever. And then we have like a pretty large LGBT community. We have furry community. I mean, we've got, vor community out there too. So, I mean,
I don't know what that is.
well, Pedro can explain it to you. He seems to love it and likes to comment on it a lot. Pedro, give him a rundown of what vor art is.
I've seen a little bit of everything, but can you imagine a creature eating a human and having a big belly, and you see the inside of the belly in that drawing? Yeah, that's vor. And some people get up to that, and they love it.
Yep. And they've drawn some Postal vor art too, and we're like, cool. It's gross, but it's whatever you want, whatever you like. That's cool too.
Oh yeah, no. If somebody is saying that I will vor Kat Dennings, probably. Probably.
Yeah.
That's
I don't
Pedro.
know how.
Just so you know, a little back history. Pedro's favorite actress, that's his celeb crush, is Kat Dennings. So
Okay.
it comes up every episode. He thinks she's the best, and he watches.
It's almost like a
he watches
joke,
Two
but it's
Broke
not a
Girls
joke.
every day, just so he can get a little bit more Kat Dennings in his
Actually,
life.
I was on the laugh track of Two Broke Girls when I was living in West Hollywood. I was visiting the Warner Brothers lot, and they had us, hey, you guys want to do the laugh track for Two Broke Girls? And it was not funny, and I couldn't laugh. So it was like very forced. And
Well,
I'm
that's-
sure sometimes it would
laugh.
be funny. Yeah,
laugh
but,
track,
no, but they had,
but laugh tracks
Yeah, that's-
always feel
yeah,
forced. That's the problem.
we were like maybe 50 or 60 people. It was not that packed, but they had the monitor above us, and they're like 3, 2, 1, and then like laugh, and then I mean, people were laughing, but I was like, I can't. It was not funny. But I mean, it was cool. It was a really cool experience. But I was like,
All I gotta
was
say
forced.
is just a callback. We didn't have a laugh track.
No.
Just saying that's because it was actually
It
And at
makes
the
things a
beginning, it
lot
said,
better
this
that
show
way.
is filmed before a live studio audience.
yeah.
all right. Yeah, so that was Titus. But the reality is there's so many different projects I've been on, and they have different experiences. And they're different challenges depending upon. They're not always fun, but sometimes they're a great learning experience.
Yeah.
And that's when you look back at I guess when you look forward at your life, you sort of make it much simpler. It's like good or bad. When you look back at your life, the quote bad things you learn from, and they affected how you make decisions. And the good things might have ended up not having a long impact. So
Right.
is it good or bad? I think the process that I go through now with every project is once I decide to accept a role, sometimes I get paid very well, sometimes I don't. And but once that threshold is crossed, it doesn't matter what I'm getting paid. I want to do the best job I can. And I don't really give a fuck about the rest of the movie. Unless I'm starring in it or directing it, that's not my problem. My focus is on what I'm doing and what I'm bringing to the team.
Of course.
And as long as I can match the caliber and style of my performance with what the style of movie is supposed to be so that they sync well, then I'm going to do my best to knock it out of the park in whatever texture that is. I also know that once I finish shooting, they yell cut. Well, did the AC get in focus? Was the camera move good, or was there a bump? How's the editor going to cover this? What's the sound? Do they get it? Do I have to ADR that? Are they going to color correct this properly? What's the score that goes underneath it? What's the sound design that goes underneath it? What's the setup to this? So many things that I'm not in charge of that I literally have to go, whatever, I'm out. But once I've committed to the process, then I do it as if I was working for Scorsese because, who knows when I'm going to die, and that'll be the last thing I do.
When in your career did that change, right? Like I'm assuming you just started acting and then eventually you got more into the production side of things. So at a certain point in your career, your mind shifted from, you're showing up for a job to like, I wonder how this sounded and that sounded, like, instead of just like, cut, you're out, right? Like, that's probably how your acting career started. You did your part and you bolted.
Yeah, when you're younger, you don't really know all the pieces that come together. Honestly, Uwe was a big part of that. Uwe was a huge inspiration to me to make films because, how to say this nicely?
Because he runs the movie Make-A-Wish Foundation, and he was one of those kids that got his wish made.
No, I mean, if you've never made a movie, you don't know what goes into it.
Oh, it's fucking hard.
It's hard. But I also know what could have gone into it and didn't.
Yeah.
And so I came up with a saying, and you guys out there in the world can steal this by all means, but this is mine. Great movies are inspirational. Bad movies are motivational. When you see a movie that's not good, or a performance that's not good, or a video game that's crappy, or a piece of art that you think is shit, you have options. You can say it's a piece of crap, but it also challenges you. Can you do better? And at a certain point, sometimes you get angry enough where you're like, fuck this. This is garbage. I could do better than that. Well, go do it. Because you will soon learn it's a lot more complex than you knew. But through that process, your learning curve will go like this. You'll suck, and then you keep on fighting, and then you'll come back out, and then you'll see where you stand. And you may not be better than the guy that you thought you were going to be better than, but at least you've learned something with your life. That was kind of the motivation, like that Uwe gave me, that I was there in every single scene, and I had issues with them. When I got to see it in the edit, because they had sent me over what they said was a rough copy, but it ended up being the final version of the movie. And it really did inspire me to be like, look, I could do better. I would make different choices. I would make different choices than he would. And in my mind, those choices would be better and funnier and would make a better movie in my point of view. Editing and comedy are very much like dance. It's interpretive. It's very, very simple. So that was where he inspired me and motivated me, because when I saw Postal, I thought it would be one thing and it became another. And although there are some great moments in the film, I felt like the potential of it was much higher than what was delivered. And being there, I saw places where the ball was just dropped. And again, I was younger then and I didn't know everything that he was dealing with, but I would have made different choices. So out of my arrogance, which is a great place to start, my arrogance and ignorance, but also my tenacity to go, fuck it, I'm going to get into this. So I did. And I'm finishing off my fourth feature I've produced and the second one I've directed. And that's Patsy Lee and the Keepers of the Five Kingdoms with James Hong and George Takei and Getty Watanabe and Bai Ling and Matt Sato and Anna Har and Michelle Mao. And that's like the Goonies meets Big Trouble in Little China with a little bit of Dark Crystal and Labyrinth.
Nice.
So, so it's, that was the motivation. Great movies are inspirational and bad movies are motivational.
Well, unfortunately, Postal is also one of his best pictures. So it's like this weird thing where, the crap rose to the top, right? Like he has had some relatively decent serious films after Postal, but Postal at the time was definitely his best movie by far. And we all know that it could have been light years better.
Yeah.
So that's not, I mean, there is a hardcore cult following to it within our community too. Like our
Yeah.
community does not hate that movie, and I don't hate that movie either. I think it actually isn't the worst thing ever. It just needed some work.
It needed polish.
Yeah.
It needed I would say, very honestly, I think it needed another pass in the
Yeah.
edit.
From somebody else, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, from a professional comedy editor.
Right.
It
Like
needed
George
some-
Lucas doesn't edit his own work the best. Somebody else does. When he edits it,
Yeah.
it's not great.
And,
So,
and that's the point, is it needed 1.5 more passes, and that I think it could have been
Yeah.
much tighter, much sexier, much funnier, really leveled up the jokes, and really paid off better.
I
That's
wasn't on set long enough to see, but the stories I was told back then were he also didn't do enough takes of scenes. So in the editing room, he didn't have enough options, and it's because the story that I was told was that it was Jason Statham that got him to stop doing so many takes and to remove on-set takes, or because he was like, no, we don't have time for this. Just film it and go, film it and go, film it and go. So like, I mean, I'm not in the movie industry. I just know that for the most part,
and it's so long ago for me, I don't remember.
yeah, and it's the only movie we have, so it's the only thing I remember. So, and I have to talk about it a lot because we get asked a lot. I mean, like when I do TikToks, the questions I get range, but there are always a lot of, what do you think of the Postal movie? Tell me stories about the Postal movie. Lots of that stuff. So it's something that I talk about a lot. So yeah, it's definitely a distant memory for a guy who's been in so many things. But it obviously is our only film, and most of the reason why people want to see you here today. So if we're talking about it too much, tell us to shut up. No problem. But that is actually really cool to hear that Uwe inspired you in ways to sort of to just do it yourself and
necessity is the mother of invention. When I was in Vancouver doing Blood Rain Deliverance right after Postal, and my father was there in December. He was there for his birthday. I brought him out.
Nice.
And they brought over the DVD of what they said was the rough cut, and I watched it, and I literally turned green, and I thought I was going to throw up.
Yeah.
And I asked Uwe and the producer, I said, can I give some notes on this as the star of the film? They're like, yeah. And so back in the day, this is 2006, your laptop wasn't an editing bay.
No.
So I had to hire a guy who had an editing bay. It cost me about $1,500, and which now I can do myself, which is hilarious.
Right. Of course.
And then I took the original, the DVD of the rough cut, and I used that footage to try and chop it up and show the timing that jokes should have been in and the pace they should have been. And then I had like 14 pages of notes with time code on it, and sent it to everybody, and they never responded.
Yeah.
And the film that I got as the rough cut was the final movie. And I mean, it wasn't even color corrected, guys.
We know.
Look at that movie. You look at that movie, and it's not color corrected properly.
No.
When they go on the airplane and the terrorists are inside the plane, that looks like it's in log C.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all flat. It has no contrast.
Yeah.
The color values are crap.
It's also the best cut scene in the film, like timing wise.
And what's crazy is when they fly the plane into the building, the comedy timing on that is brilliant.
Yeah.
And that little shot looks like he's in front on a big building. The lighting is great. The color saturation is great. That's awesome. And everything else looks undersaturated. Like so when you film on a professional digital camera, and actually I think that was 2006, so that would have been 35 mil, dude.
Yeah,
would have been 35 mil, bro.
Yeah.
So you're getting a lot of gamma, you're getting a lot of range, latitude in your f-stops. There's no excuse for not color correcting that properly.
No.
And what I saw as the rough cut was what was delivered into theaters, and that to me is just lazy. And that's the problem with it, and that's what bothered me. I saw there was a level of, okay, we're done, moving on.
Well, we've
on.
always wanted to see the Ward cut, and I know you don't have it laying around, but if it ever popped up, I'd be happy to put that on Steam. Well, we can't put it on Steam anymore.
Trust me, you and
but-
I both know that what I'd like to be doing is making another Postal movie or
Yeah.
a Postal TV series. And
Of
I've
course.
been
Oh yeah.
slapping some ideas around. It's taken a hind seat because COVID fucked the world. My business partner and I opened up a studio in 2019, November of 2019, and we had 10 movies set up.
Yeah.
And we had a bunch of movies of the week, and we were good, we were gold, we were done. And we had to just stop from going bankrupt. And then we pivoted from, we started getting into Unreal Engine technology and the LED wall tech that they
Yep.
use on the Mandalorian.
The volume.
Yeah, well, the volume is multiple things. So in a video game, it's a big room with a lot of cameras pointing at you.
Yep.
In the Mandalorian world, it's an LED wall that has got you've got motion trackers on the camera. So as the camera moves around, the background environment on the LED wall pivots,
Yep.
like with it's a game engine,
Yep.
in real time as the parallax shifts. So my business partner, Ace Underhill, and yes, that is his real name. He is a fleshy-headed mutant. He was a partner-level programmer by the age of 19 at Microsoft. So he was able to reverse engineer a lot of the proceeds from The Mandalorian so that we could do it on a much lower budget. Our studio's name is Brilliant Screen Studios. You can go to brilliantscreen.com. And we're a full production facility with all the trucks, and we got 15 cop cars and ambulances and 3 different stages and LED walls and Unreal Engine and blah, 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 all the crap. So if you're a movie 8 million and under, we can do it ourselves. And that's where we now were able to get up to there because of COVID and all the problems. And now we're finally hitting our speed again. And with my movie finishing off, Patsy Lee, which I'm very proud of, and it looks fucking great.
Where are people going to be able to watch that, by the way? Let's tell them where to watch it.
So they can't anywhere right now.
Okay.
That was done. It's a spec film, which means it was not made with distribution. We're
Okay.
looking at doing a cast and crew screening, what I call a soft premiere, in February, which will actually be James Hong's 94th birthday.
That's awesome.
He just got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame this summer, and he's got more credits on IMDb than any other human being in history. And he's a legend, dude. He was in Big Trouble in Little China. He was in Blade Runner. He's a legend. He was
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Come on.
yeah. He was also in Chinatown, bro.
Yep. Yep. He's in everything.
So we're doing that then, and then we'll be selling the film. But
Okay.
So really, Postal as a movie or a TV series is something I would very much like to do.
Yeah, and just so people know, he's not bullshitting. We've literally been talking about this for a decade. So it's not something that we don't want to do. It's not something that we haven't explored. It just hasn't happened, and it's gonna happen.
We get asked about it like every day for years. Yeah, every day.
Every day. Yeah, every day. It's
Well, I mean, you should know that the original Christmas Story was in development for 10 years.
Yep.
Damn. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
I didn't even know that.
maybe at one point we put together a fundraiser on the for a Postal film on your platform and keep no offense to Uva, but
he's not in the industry anymore. So I mean,
right. So if I'm going to do it, then I'm going to do it. I'm too old and too experienced to be like, here, someone else. Here's my life. Please,
right.
Please don't fuck me over.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. No, I'm just.
Maybe you will like it. Maybe you will like the movie. So.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter if he does or doesn't. So.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah.
What matters is that at the end of the day, for us, and this is kind of how we are with gaming too, we don't make the best games. In fact, we trademark the worst game ever because that's where we live. But we like to make shit that we laugh at. And if people laugh along with us, then fuck it. That's great too. And if they don't, then fuck them. So you hope you can make money, and you hope that you can keep doing it and eat. But you make what you want to make, and you hope that you can keep funding it along the way. So
I mean, even people sometimes who shit on the game, we are like, well, make your own Postal game. We'll show us, and then they give up like 2 months later. They're like, oh yeah, it's not that easy.
No, it's not easy at all. It's not easy at all.
Not
And
even
with
2 months.
gaming, which it just keeps getting harder and harder because the level of development that is required now to make even remotely close to a AAA looking game is infinitely larger than it was 15 years ago.
Like you look at the video games I've done, like Army of Two, The Devil's Cartel. That was a low budget game for EA. I think it was.
Yep.
Not EA. It's was it EA or who was it? It was.
I think it was EA. Yeah.
And that was like a $50 million game.
Yeah, and that was 10 years ago. So.
Yeah,
right.
And then I did Tomb Raider, and that was like a $80 million game.
Yeah, well, GTA 5 cost $340 million, but it has grossed over $8 billion. Right. One game in 10 years. One game. So
I know for GTA 6, Take-Two, they gave them a max spending of $1 billion, but they can spend it the way they want. Yeah, on the game. So
that's insane.
Oh, if only we had that budget, huh?
Well, that game's going to be out for 20 years. It's going to come out and it's going to be their only game for 20 years because that's what.
But even now, big games turn into TV shows. Like we have Last of Us next month. Now Amazon is going to start doing God of War. This popping up. Yeah.
I mean, what's funny is when we did Postal, we had turned down Uva originally. We got some emails and we were like, no, we don't want to work with this guy. And me and Vince eventually had a conversation about this, and we're like, there really isn't that many video games that get made into movies back then. Mm-hmm. So we were like, let's be one of 10 or whatever the number was at the time. Let's do this. And also, we make crappy games. So
and also, like, let's be honest. I don't know the last video game that got turned into a movie that was comedy.
Sonic is kind of funny.
Sonic,
but the game's not funny.
I mean, Mario. They have Mario next year, but it's not really comedy.
Yeah, but it's not the same kind. It's not a funny game.
The video game, the video game is not funny.
No,
it's not funny.
No.
Mario, the video game, it's not really funny.
It can be, but it's not.
It doesn't mean to be. It doesn't.
No.
The video game does not have a sense of humor.
No.
It has a sense of cuteness, but it does. You don't laugh out loud at something.
No.
Mario Brothers cuteness. It's if you like Hello Kitty, you'll get along fine with Mario Brothers. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's not like there was a point of view of a sense of humor from the game itself. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. Is like I don't see any other one that's really done that. I may be wrong, but
no. The other funny games, there's no funny game films. I mean, I guess is Uncharted funny? I don't think so.
That movie sucks ass.
Yeah, that movie.
It's so fucking bad, dude. Watching Mark Wahlberg, like, hey, how's it going over there? You find some diamonds? What's going on? You find the treasure? Yeah, just like no effort at all, dude. Just the most ridiculous, bad CGI, and so much money to make something so fucking bad.
Yeah. Well, Assassin's Creed was the same way. Assassin's Creed was horrible too.
Halo sucked.
The show Halo was terrible.
What made me sad about the Uncharted movie is that Nathan Fillion, he looks exactly like the character. The guy who does the voice looks like Nathan Drake. Like they even did a short movie where he was playing Nathan Drake. And
he's also a massive Uncharted fan. So
why did they not use him?
They fucked up big time. They fucked up big time.
He was down to do the movie.
Yeah.
While with Postal, we can do the Postal cinematic universe and properly cast everybody with a lower budget, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We do need to do something else. There's just too many of these projects. But there is some stuff that's looking good, right? Like The Last of Us does look good.
It looks great. Yeah.
It does. It does.
And it's made by the guy who did Chernobyl, and Chernobyl was great. So I have faith. Yeah. And
what's his name? I can't think of his name, but he's very good. He also hosted the podcast for Chernobyl, which is awesome too.
Yeah. Martin something, I think. I'm not sure. Yeah,
it's good stuff. Let's see. Pedro wants to know, since it's part of our screen here, and he's a sick fuck, are you part of the foreskin or the no foreskin society?
I'm not really going to get into those questions because it's stupid.
It is. It's just, Pedro's a sick fuck, and I don't know what he wants to do. We had a bunch of fans asking about Resident Evil 2, if you wanted to talk about doing Resident Evil 2 at all.
For sure.
They're huge fans of that as well, and you were in that, so.
Ask away.
That's the question. Talk about Resident Evil 2. They didn't have specific questions. They wanted to hear Zack wax about Resident Evil 2.
You know what that reminds me of is like, remember when Chris Farley would do those interviews and be like, "See, you were in the movie, yeah. What was that like? Yeah, okay, great."
Well,
Okay.
that's what our podcast is based on. It's on bullshit questions with no real.
So my favorite part of doing that film, there were a couple of things. I was training all the time with military trainers to really do the CQB, close quarters combat type of stuff, and they were Russian spasnauts. So they're like Russian special forces, and they were brutal, and they were mean, and they would wrap a baseball bat with foam, and then I would have to go through this little improvised kill house made out of like those wrestling mats that Velcro together inside a dojo, and then they kind of fold, and you can put them up on the edge, and you can kind of make a corridor out of them if you wanted. So I'd have to go through that, and I'd have different targets, and I'd have a bullpup, which is so a bullpup is like a SMG, small machine gun, that's got the magazine behind the trigger, as opposed to out here like a M14.
Yeah, any Counter-Strike player knows this gun pretty well. So
okay, so yeah, we should all know this. So I have a bullpup Tavor, the original Tavor, which was not a great weapon. And then I have a sidearm, which is a 40 ACP Parabellum, big ass heavy gun, but can actually shoot underwater, which is dope. So I'm going around this kill house, and I have to go brap, brap, and I'm doing all my pieing off, and I'm hitting it. And then they would make little breaks in the corridor where they would sneak in and like whack the gun out of my hand with a baseball bat raised, wrapped in foam rubber, and I would have to go down to the ground, roll, come back out with my other sidearm up, pap, 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 drop the clip, put it back in, and then scan around and take shots. And they were assholes about it, but it was awesome. It was so cool. And in the movie, when you first see us, we're coming down this alleyway, me, Oded Fair, and this other dude. So there's three of us, blah, blah, blah. And then a cop car comes behind us, and we sort of duck out of the way, and it goes through the alleyway, and then we follow it, and then I turn and I'm shooting like this, and there's like 300 extras in zombie outfits in the small town of Hamilton, Ontario, and it's a downtown Hamilton area. And then I shoot, bang, 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 I pull out a grenade, I throw a grenade, and then the camera goes off of me to all this mayhem. And what was amazing is literally that all happened in real time. So from us coming down, this is a one shot.
Yep.
We're going down the alleyway, the car comes by, we got to jump out of the way, we come around, shoot. I'm running full load blanks in my gun, which means if you put your hand in front of it, it'll blow a hole through your hand. Like you're still dealing with near lethal force. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
And I've got cameras on steady cams coming around me. I'm like all tough fast, like do shoot, throw a grenade, and camera goes off of me, and what you see are hundreds of people in zombie costumes. There's speed ropes that are supported above out of frame with the lights above them, and people coming down on ropes and opening up with these street sweeper 60 cals, and just fucking mayhem. And for me, so here's what my face looks like when I'm shooting it. I'm all, hold on. I'm badass. Here I am. I'm badass. Oh, bang, 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 bang. Throw the grenade. Camera goes off of me. Holy fuck. Dude. Like it was like being in the world's greatest video game.
Yeah.
It was insane. It was
Sounds
so
like great
cool.
fun. Jesus.
Oh
yeah.
Oh yeah. Here's the thing: is that one shot was probably $1.5 million. Like it was one of those things. You're like, look what I get.
We've got one take, everyone. This is real acid, everyone.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was fantastic.
And like, you get one shot for the final. Like, how much prep goes into that? Is it like a month or 3 months for one shot?
I'm sure. I don't know because they don't include me in all that stuff. But I'm sure there's at least, I'm sure, months and months of prep going into that movie. Probably a year, dude, with all the costumes. The guy who plays the Nemesis,
Right.
that guy was 6'8". He was 6'8", 380 pounds. In the scene, he's in a police station and he whips out a Vulcan, which is a mini Gatling gun, right? Like the one they have on the side of helicopters.
Yeah.
And it's chromed because that looks awesome.
Of course.
And he fires it with one hand. And he is the first person in the history of cinema to ever fire a Vulcan minigun one-handed. And the director, they're like, yeah, we'll let it run for about, a minute. And the armor is like, how long? What did you do? He's like, yeah, we'll let it run for like a minute. He's like, okay. They're 50 caliber blanks. Like, yeah, go ahead. Each one costs about $2.50. Yeah. And in a minute, it goes through about 6,000 rounds.
Yep. You want in?
So you should know this, right? He's like, oh, he goes, I think that's overkill. And no one fires a Gatling gun on full auto for a minute.
It's probably 15 seconds. Probably 15 seconds.
3 seconds, bro.
Yeah.
Brr, brr.
I'm just saying it would run out in 15 seconds. It would be out.
So, so he ended up, running it for like 8 seconds or whatever it was. But this giant of a man, wearing all this prosthetic latex appliance and fuckery, and he pulls the trigger, and you see his whole body slowly gets pushed backwards from the force of that gun. Yeah. And you'll see in the film, he's in a corridor, and there's all these little bulletins stapled to the wall, and the gun does this: it spins, it goes right, and it creates a vortex. And it ripped all the paper off the wall and spun it in a circle. And none of that was special effects. That all happened.
Yeah.
And it all happened. They had no idea it was going to occur. And then the camera. So here's the guy shooting. The camera's on a dolly. And they're moving the dolly towards him as he shoots. And they have a big plexiglass shield in front of the camera. And they had to get extra dolly grips to push the dolly because the force coming out of the gun was pushing the 400-pound dolly back.
Yeah. That's equals MC squared, man.
I was outside the building about probably a quarter of a block away, and I was eating a sandwich, and they pulled the trigger, and it sounds like an explosion. I literally hit the ground so fucking fast. Like, oh my God, oh, what the hell? Like, just terrifying. It was awesome.
That's a great story from Resident Evil 2. Yeah. Why didn't somebody ask him about the fucking Gatling gun scene? Why couldn't we have a specific question?
Here's a cool one from Resident Evil Apocalypse. In the scene where I kill the dogs, right? The scene where I kill the dogs, brum, 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 brum. I've got this bitch. Stay, right? I wrote that line, stay, because it was a cool line.
Sure.
And even cooler than that is where that takes place is my high school, Northern Secondary High School, where I have never been invited to a school reunion, ever. Yet I got to go shoot an $80 million movie and shoot up the cafeteria. I was like,
that's right.
That's
right. That's all. I mean, that is the reunion you needed. I'm guessing. So, yeah. High school reunions suck anyway. So shooting up your cafeteria sounds like a much more fun reunion. So we had a few people ask, what are the Zack Ward Christmas traditions? Or they like to say the Scott Fargus Christmas traditions. Do you have any specific Christmas traditions?
I do. My Christmas tradition has been raising money for different charities from Thanksgiving through Christmas. And my father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2020. Anybody who understands Alzheimer's or dementia, it's life-crushing.
Yeah.
I started working with the Alzheimer's Association because they were helping me out massively. If anybody's dealing with it, please contact them right away. They're free. They got local chapters. They can help you financially, medically, psychologically, physically, help you have the support you need because there is so much collateral damage to this fucktard of a disease.
Yeah.
So I just got home on Monday from being in Ohio doing the fundraiser at the Christmas Story House. And now it's just, to be honest with you, I just want to chill out, not talk to anybody, and hang out with my wife and just clean stuff up and slowly, day by day, organize my life. So when the world turns back on again, I'm not digging through shit to find what I need.
Yeah.
So I need this time to recharge, and just get over it, to be honest.
Of course. There's
Yeah, my grandma passed from Alzheimer like in September, so yeah, it's no joke, and it can go really fast. Like within 6 months, it's done. Yeah, so
It's crazy once you, and I don't know if you recognize this, but like my father's only 22 years older than me. Hey, honey. My father's only 22 years older than me. And when his like I was there when he did the test, the cognition test, and it broke my fucking heart.
Yeah.
And once you get that diagnosis that that's what it is, you start remembering times maybe when you were with your grandma and they said something or they did something. You're like, what? Well, that's weird. Oh, grandma, you're being quirky.
Yeah.
You're being a little odd. And then in retrospect, when you look at it, you're like, that's when the brain was not firing. So it's brutal, dude. I would like to murder it. So yeah, that's what I do. I hang out with my wife, and I try to do as little as possible, while as much as possible around the house, so we can get into the new year and just be happy and relaxed.
Yeah. You bust your ass all year, and you need some time off. And
I really fucking do, dude. I really do.
yeah.
I know. As a guy that tries to reach out to you pretty relatively often about things, I am actually I'm not blown away. I expect it, but you do really bust your ass, and that's mad respect.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and like I said to everybody earlier, like we have been talking about a project for a long time, and it's not like we just text about bullshit. Like we've actually discussed pretty high level stuff for a long time. It just never materialized yet, and for a lot of different reasons.
We've done contracts. We've got into story development, and the reality is, it's not worth crapping out just to get it done.
No,
because it's too much work.
Yeah,
and it's like there's got to be the money, and there's got to be the distribution portal.
Of course.
And now there's more opportunities, like you were talking about Tubi.
Yep.
I would love to talk to Tubi about doing a limited series for Postal.
Yep.
Fuck yeah. That sounds awesome.
Yep.
Sounds awesome. There should be a Postal multiverse.
Yep.
So I'm 53, for Christ's sake. You know.
Well, that was actually another question we had on the list. You're pretty ageless, bro. Like, what's your secret?
There's a bobby pin on the back of my head that just sucks
pulls all the skin back. You have a little clip. Don't turn around. We don't want to see it. Do not break the illusion. And also, you said the multiverse. So, I mean, there's all these openings now in all these cinematic universes. Like, do you want to play a superhero or a villain or something in one of these? Like, is that something that interests you at all?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be in Black Adam.
Well, and also, I mean, we were talking about, Christmas Story took 10 years, and forgetting how poorly Black Adam was received and everything that's happening. That's actually something that The Rock's been working on for like 12 years. So
yeah. But I think the problem was also like, and I haven't seen Black Adam yet.
Neither have I.
I haven't seen Thor: Love and Thunder yet. But I don't really care. The thing is, I don't really care to. And I loved Phase 1 of Marvel. I loved the first Iron Man. I really enjoyed Captain America. I love the Winter Soldier. I love the Avengers Endgame. When it got to the end of Avengers Endgame, I'm like, perfect. I got it. I'm happy. Beautiful. And then the other ones came out. I'm like, I don't have any fucks to give. This is stupid. It's badly done. It's cheesy. It looks like a movie of the week. And especially like Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I'm sorry. I know you're not supposed to give it any critique because it has Asian people in it, but I'm sorry. Again, another one of those moments where somebody magically learns how to use a tool or a weapon that they've never touched before, and then it's glowing beams of light. I'm like,
well, it was better than Eternals. Eternals was real dull.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. And then the problem ends up becoming also this. Like, and I had this problem. So there's okay, Captain America is fighting in Civil War. He's holding a helicopter. Remember that shot? He's
Yeah,
holding
yeah.
a
On the
helicopter.
helipad. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's struggling for the helicopter. Now, I don't know. I'm sure you guys can look it up. How many pounds of force that a helicopter can put? I'm sure it's very impressive. It's got to be tens of thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
So now he's doing that. He's like, yeah. Okay, so we established that, right? Then we established that Thanos beats the fuck out of the Hulk like this, like a
Yeah.
like me going up to an 8-year-old kid. Bap, bap. Just Scott Farkas, that guy, right? Done. Then Captain America stops Thanos from snapping his fingers. So what is the because here's the problem. I'm a human being, Mike's a human being. If Mike and I fight a bear, we know that we're gonna die.
Yeah.
And if we go into fighting a bear and survive or even attempt it, there's a level of heroism because we're doing it to save the person we love or whatever. But we know the risks. There's real risks. I don't, get my arm ripped off and magically grow a new one back because reason.
Yeah.
And if I did, then there are no stakes. And if there are no stakes, then I don't give a shit.
No.
And if I don't give a shit because there's no danger, then why am I watching this? Because it's shiny. And that was my problem with this new Star Wars, all this stuff that is dumbed down to a level where you can have toddlers watch it.
Have you watched Andor though? That's a
I
whole.
I haven't watched it. I heard it's great.
Oh my fucking
I
god!
heard it is amazing and actually it supports my point.
Exactly
Like,
your point.
Yeah.
When you let's go back to Star Wars: A New Hope.
Yeah.
You have your opening. You see the planet blown up, which you care and you don't care because you don't know anybody on the planet, and it's too big to really relate to.
Right.
It's like when you watch people get shot in a movie. I've never been shot in real life, so you go, "Oh, that looks like a bad thing."
Right.
But
Sad,
if I showed you me getting a paper cut,
we're like, "Gah!"
or if I went to go lick an envelope and it cut open the sides of my mouth, like,
just talking about it.
then I squeeze some lemon juice on it, right? Because
stakes.
everybody has that experience, so you know what it feels like.
Yeah.
So in Star Wars, the first one, you meet Luke Skywalker. He's kind of a whiny kid. He's complaining, but there's his aunt and his uncle, and then he goes into town, and the aunt and uncle are nice people. They're like, well, he'll learn about this. Should we tell him about this? No, don't talk about that. They're people. You care.
Right.
They're being nice, right? And then he comes back, and they're dead, and they're not just fucking dead.
Charred.
They're to death.
Yeah.
Charred meat on the bones of a skeleton, and he is struck in the chest. Now cut to the new one, A Force Awakens. Who the fuck are these people in a tent with a droid? I don't give a shit about them. Everybody in the background, I don't know who they are. Stormtroopers get off a ship and fire laser beams at extras in the background who fall down. I don't care.
Right.
There's nothing there for me to give a crap about. I've never been shot with a laser beam. I mean, a flashlight. And I don't know who these jackasses are. And now all the rules don't apply because emo Darth Maul can stop flashlight beam. Like, fuck off. It's all designed for parents who are helicopter parents to feel comfortable putting a toddler in front of a show to babysit them so that kid can want to buy all the different toys and mommy and daddy can go drink their wine.
Yeah.
It's just
that's why you need to watch Andor. It's not made for kids. It doesn't hold your hand. It's fucking sad. It's dark. It's violent. And I mean, really, I don't know if you watch Rogue One. It's on another fucking planet. Like it really, it's almost not a Star Wars project. There's Empire logos. There's a few characters you may know from things, really offbeat characters. But for the most part, it could be any project. And it is fucking phenomenal. It's a spy thriller. It's a prison break. It's a heist movie all in one season. And it is
I don't
fucking
have Disney
phenomenal.
Plus because I don't need it, but I'll check it out.
It is worth 1 month of Disney Plus. I will pay you for that month.
That's what I liked about A Christmas Story Christmas is that to me, it's not really for kids.
No.
The original Christmas Story is for kids and parents. The new movie it's not really for kids. Kids can't relate to parents'
No.
problems. They really
No.
can't. If you're under the age of 25 or 30, you're not going to give a shit about a Christmas
No.
story.
Well,
Well,
also
it's
the
flipped.
kids that saw the original, they grew up now to be adults.
Well, that's
so,
it.
They,
The-
and they have kids. This movie is for them.
Right. It's meant for the people that watched the movie as a kid. It's not meant. I mean, it's
Exactly.
flipped. The original movie was
Exactly.
kids with a few little adult stories. This is mostly adult stories with a few little kid stories.
Yeah.
So,
And it's meant for those. It's that stage in their life because
Yeah.
now we are matching their life development and these stories that they're telling. Like the first movie is a coming of age story, and this Christmas Story Christmas is another coming of age story where he steps into the shoes of his father, right,
Yeah.
and becomes the man that he was always afraid to be.
of course.
And those are the things that we will all go through. Everybody here, everybody watching this, everybody on this was born, was a child, grew up, will have a family of some kind
Yep.
or another, whether they're just people they love. I don't have children myself. Whether they have children, whatever it is, there will be steps when they watch their parents die. And this is your life. And eventually this is what happens to you. No matter what you do, in 100 years, everybody watching this will be dead. So
Yep.
this is your life. You better fucking be part of it and enjoy it. And this movie is aimed at that audience and really connects with them really, really well. So anyways,
Yeah.
next question. What do we got?
Well, I
Because
was
we're-
gonna finish the superhero villain thing with. I actually think you would fit really well into what James Gunn has done with the DC
Yeah,
universe. Like his stuff is
The reboot.
yeah, the reboot
Yeah.
stuff is really funny and gritty and violent. Like if you haven't seen Peacemaker or
I
the
love
Oh,
Peacemaker.
right
so good.
Peacemaker
It's really
and
great.
the new
Yeah.
Suicide Squad movie, like that shit
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
fucking stellar, and I'm glad that's where he wants to take the DCEU because the DCEU has sucked balls.
Well, if
For the
James Gunn
longest
is a
time.
huge fan of Postal
Huge.
and the Postal web
Yeah.
podcast, I'll let him know right here. I am open and available.
Hire
play
this fucking
anything
guy.
in the DC universe.
I
So,
think we should have everybody reach out to get Zack a spot somewhere in there because James Gunn did sort
Yeah.
of get Postal canceled, not by us, but he was involved with Trauma, and he got canceled from Marvel a few years ago because of
Yeah.
shit he said with Trauma 15 years ago.
And then they're like, "Oh, he was making us a lot of money. We need him back." And then
right,
they call him
yeah.
back
I mean,
for
he made some dead baby jokes on Twitter back in the Trauma days, and that got him canceled. And then DC's like, "We'll take him."
that's hilarious.
So,
Let's get
yeah.
hashtag Zack Ward trending right now.
Yeah,
Everybody in
hashtag
the
Zack
chat.
Ward for DCEU or DCU, whatever they're calling it. I don't even fucking know these days. We're kind
I
of
think, I
bordering
think it should be. I think it should be the DC Gunniverse.
Gunniverse. That's a good one. I like it.
I just came up with.
I
that.
like it. I
DC
like it.
Gunniverse.
Yeah, that should trend too. Zack Ward for DC Gunniverse. There it is. There's the hashtag. We are pushing up on over an hour here. I didn't want to keep you much longer than that. I know we didn't ask a ton of questions, but that's because you wax intellectual for good long periods of time. What's next
have
for
a-
you? What's next?
What's next for me is I'm doing a couple of projects that I'm just acting in, which is nice. So I guess that focus on acting and cut off my producer, director, writer brain. I'm doing that in right after Christmas and in January, and I'm completely almost done with my movie Patsy Lee. And then, like I said, we're hoping to do the birthday premiere for James Hong turning 94 in February. There's the goal. So that's a lot. I've been working towards that goal for quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Send me an
very
invite. I'll fly out for that shit.
Sweet. You're
I'm not-
definitely the person I want to have there. When I think of the people I need to
If
have,
you need somebody to fill a seat, I'll fill a seat for you, bro. I will wear any face mask. I don't give a fuck.
awesome. You know what? Maybe that'll happen. That'll be great.
No, don't worry about it. Do what you got to
What
do. But I love this shit.
What else
So,
do I have got going? What other questions can I ask me? Questions, I'll answer them real quick and concise.
you're Canadian. Do you like Letterkenny or Shoresy? Do you watch those shows?
I love Letterkenny. I've never seen Shoresy. Thank you for telling me about it. I'll check it out. But
Yeah,
I
it's a
fucking
spin-off.
love-
It's a spin-off show from Letterkenny about the character that nobody gave a shit about, but it's actually a better show.
It's much better, actually.
Yeah.
You should.
It's all
try it.
about. It's really a
You should
hockey
check it.
show, and it's fucking phenomenal. Pedro wanted to know what's the difference between a duck.
I literally hate that line.
Please don't kill me.
No,
Because I
no,
know
it's just-
I know a bunch of people would ask you that question.
yeah. I hate that scene because it's shot so badly. But
Yeah.
what's the difference between a duck? Depends on the duck. What kind of duck are you asking? Is it for a mallard, green-throated mallard, or are we talking more of the Lithuanian brown-footed speckled warbler?
Yeah, that is a good
That's
question.
one.
What? Yeah, that's a good
That's
return
one.
question. What kind of duck? How was working with Michael Bay?
He's technically a genius and deserves a lot of respect for that. Social skills, not so friendly. But on the flip side, why should he? He's one of those guys that if you don't matter to the film, he doesn't give a fuck about you because he's busy with too many things. And, he's on the top of the totem pole as it goes. I got to do a $150 million movie with him. I can't hate on the guy. He gave me a great opportunity to do something with giant robots.
And you got to die first. You got to die first.
Yes, I did. Yes, sir.
That's the key. Let's see. What's next? How does it feel to be the biggest star that came out of A Christmas Story?
Well, considering that Peter Billingsley produced Iron Man.
But people don't remember producers. They remember
No, they
actors.
don't. I mean, the biggest star that came out of A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
That's very sweet. Thank you very much. I don't think of myself that way. I think
We're
of myself-
biased because you were the postal dude, but so
I think of myself as a journeyman actor who just loves what he gets to do what I love for a living, and that hasn't always been the truth. There are many years of horrible struggle and lots of difficulty.
same, bro. We're indie game developers. We fucking get it.
Yeah, you do, and it's just it's always funny when someone's asking for your autograph, and you go and you're doing construction.
Yeah. No,
And that's a real thing, baby. That's a real thing.
Trust me, we're a smaller scale here, but I used to bounce at bars a lot just because I like doing it. And the money didn't hurt. And sometimes I'd be talking to someone and then they'd find out that I made postal and they're like, what the fuck are you doing here? I'm like, because I need to pay rent or get the fuck out of the house or, like.
So it's great to be an actor that people like my work. So I'm very grateful that I have that opportunity.
Yeah.
So thank you.
If you had to pick one thing in the industry to do, what would that be? For the rest of your life, one thing.
Directing.
You like directing?
Yeah, if I had to pick one.
Yep.
Because that's acting is hard.
Yep.
To sell this all the time. Not everybody wants this.
You can do directing without having to worry about your face for the rest of your fucking life.
Directing, as long as you're mentally there and you can move around and you're up to speed, you can look like a bag of potatoes. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
So yeah, it would be directing.
And who do you want to work with?
Wow, I've never been asked that question.
Like, who's your I mean, the dream is, who is your dream?
I'd love to work with Christopher Nolan.
Yep.
Love to work with Steven Spielberg again. I did an episode of a TV show with him years ago. High Incident. He was very cool.
Nice.
I've worked with. I like to work with James Cameron. I've worked with Cameron Crowe. Worked with Michael Bay. Who else? I don't know. Oh, I'd love to work with Guy Ritchie. Damn, that guy's a baller, dude.
Yeah. Love Guy Ritchie stuff. I actually watched Bullet Train the other night, and it reminded me a lot of Guy Ritchie stuff.
Very much.
Yeah,
Very
I
much.
was very inspired by that shit. And my wife, who has a very short ADD attention span, she's like, are we watching a fucking Guy Ritchie movie? And she fell asleep because she can't focus on the movie because it's constantly calling back shit that she doesn't remember. So, well, that's cool. Yeah, that's a lot of big names, and I hope you do fucking work with those people because
Nolan will be sick. Yeah.
Yeah, you deserve it, man.
And a lot of fans were asking, you play any video games?
I haven't had the time to.
Same.
Honestly, and my favorite video game of all time, Portal.
Well,
I replayed the Portal recently, the new ray tracing update they did. It was sick. Yeah, replaying
Portal
that game. And that game is legendary.
Different frame rate, but it's very good.
They didn't remake the game. They redid some of the graphics to use some of the latest technologies. It's called ray tracing.
Yeah, they put ray tracing in the game. So
ray tracing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. Portal to me is just I like going to bed and dreaming in that Portal environment.
Yep.
So you know how you can start making your world, and then you kept going like, oh, I was upside down. Oh, that was cool. Yeah.
Well, actually, talking about that, they said recently they started writing the script for Portal 3. Some of the people at Valve. So yeah.
So
I
don't
think-
plan on that
yeah.
ever coming out. They've never released a third game in anything.
Yeah,
Literally,
yeah,
it is a meme.
yeah.
Valve does not release
I
a
met
third
the
game.
woman who did
And
the,
neither did we.
I
Yeah.
met the woman who did the voice of Gladys
Oh, nice.
at a convention one time. I totally fanboyed. It was so cool.
Oh.
Portal is one of those things that anytime the game Postal gets talked about on Reddit, somebody comes in and they're like, "Oh, I thought this said Portal."
Well, actually, on Steam, if you type Postal, they are like, oh, other games similar that you would like to play, and it says Portal.
Yeah.
But the two games are so different.
And
Yeah.
there's two similarities. One, the word is obviously one letter apart. Number two, the Portal logo is just like that.
Yep.
That is true.
Yeah,
That is
and
true.
we know for a fact, Gabe, the guy that runs Valve, he's had a Running with Scissors sign on his wall for 20 plus years. So
Oh, that's
who knows if he was just like, what should the Portal logo look like? And he was just looking at his wall and he's like, how about that? And we're like, cool, we'll just fuck ourselves.
Don't be bitter. Don't be bitter.
I'm not, the only
You're
reason we
not.
are here today, the only reason Running with Scissors exists at all is because of Valve and their kindness of putting our nonsense on Steam back in 2012. That's literally the only reason we're still in business. So they can make all the money in the world. I don't give a fuck if they steal all of our ideas. They can have them because we are only in business because of Steam, for better or for worse. So
What else can I answer?
I'm at the end of my list, and the questions that are just getting fucking buried up here. I do have some fans that are saying, will you say hi to the Polish Postal fan community? We do have a pretty large community in Poland, so they just wanted you to say hi specifically to them.
So this is Zack Ward, the Postal Dude, reaching out to the postal community in Poland. Thank you for your support. Continue playing, continue having fun, and remember, go Postal. No regrets.
See, now you can say that. Here's a question from a Kitch. Can you ask Zach how movies have changed when they transitioned from analog to digital?
Okay, Quentin Tarantino said it very well. In analog, you're not actually seeing a moving image. You're actually seeing 24 frames, small pictures, and there is an illusion of movement, and that's part of the process. And also the way you color a film and what happens with celluloid, the chemical process, there is a little bit of unknown magic to it in the sense that you can never completely control it 100%. So you get some of the impurities, some of the quote mistakes actually lend a qualitative value, the style of chemicals that are used, the type of chemicals. So there's like how a painter uses their brushes and what type of paints they have access to. You go back to Egyptian times, and like the color blue was very, 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 very hard to come by, and so it was very expensive, and so it was reserved for certain people. So color palettes throughout history had a value based upon how easy it was to get them and what you had to make them from. So same thing with 35 millimeter and 16 mil and 8 millimeter, and the development process. It was far more arduous, and now and also more artistic in some ways. And now with digital, there's a lot more people who have access to equipment that can make movies. Doesn't mean it's any good. Doesn't mean it's bad. But it's like the old saying of the 7 wise men touching an elephant. Everybody's going to see a different thing. It does put the responsibility on the shoulders of the filmmaker to make something good. And as we've witnessed with movies like Black Adam, you cannot just run visual effects and expect that people will be impressed anymore. You know, I did Christmas Story in 1982, came out in 83, and there are no special effects in that film.
No.
And but the story is watched almost 40 years later. Why? because it's connecting to the audience, because the audience are people. When I did Transformers, it was the first time you ever saw anything like that. Nobody's watching a 24-hour marathon of Transformers.
Yeah.
That's a fact, and I'm not saying anything against the movie. It made over $1 billion. It did very well. Nobody gives a shit, because if it's just about what's the new shiny fantastical, there's always a new shiny fantastical. And now, if anything's possible, then nothing's interesting, and then you start making it simpler.
Yep.
And you connect to human beings, and that's people watching the film. So, there's a lot of questions to answer. There's a lot of answers to that simple question, and it's not a simple question. Hopefully that starts you down a path of psychosis. So enjoy.
And I know I've already harped on this multiple times too, but what you just said all about the way people connect and and special effects sort of ruining things sometimes, that's why that newest Star Wars show is phenomenal. There's special effects. There's just not that much of it.
Or you look at like Mad Max Fury Road, there's a ton of special effects,
Yeah.
but you can't tell.
No,
And
right.
Yeah.
But there's also a ton of practical effects too. Like
That's why I love Nolan for that. Like what Nolan does. Sometimes it's like invisible effects. You don't notice them, but he does a lot of like practical stuff. Yeah. Or Fincher also.
the
Yeah.
spinning rooms.
Well,
the spinning
Fincher would
rooms.
do like when he did Safe Room, and he's doing all of these unmotivated camera moves.
Passing through like the objects and like stuff like that. Yeah. Like a Fight Club also. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of stupid, but you can see how a director is playing with what's an option to him then, and learn. And like as a director, you're always trying to figure out what the technology is, how to utilize it. If it works, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. And look, Fincher is a god. I would love to work with a guy. But yeah, you're always using technology to express your vision, quote unquote. And sometimes you look at it and go, that wasn't the best. But you got to try that, otherwise nobody knows. But you look at a film like Mad Max Fury Road, and there's so much VFX in that blends the practical into it.
Yeah.
People are saying, "Oh, this movie, it's all practical." I'm like, you're an idiot. There is.
Well, it's not all practical,
Yeah.
but it's a good
Yeah.
movie outside of the VFX. That's the difference.
Well,
But it's like you look at
The Thing. For example, The Thing was practical. Oh, in The Thing, the first one from 1982.
Of course, it was practical.
From
Yes.
John
Yeah, but I
Carpenter.
was going to say, you look at a film like Forrest Gump, and you see Lieutenant Dan on the side of the boat, and his legs are chopped off, and that's all VFX, because they have a motion control camera there that was the size of a car, and then they can track it perfectly over and over, and they can take it out. And they had to work around that. A bunch of scenes, like when he's in the apartment, some of the props, the furniture is actually CGI, so that he can swing his legs through it, and you wouldn't be able to tell. But that type of forethought, it never took you out of the movie, because all you had to accept is that Lieutenant Dan has no legs. So when it's done that beautifully, then it's still following the same number one rule, which is connect to the emotional level of the audience to convey a story, as opposed to fuck story and here's shiny video game. Who gives a shit?
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting for about 30 seconds and then click.
Yeah. Like,
well, I saw that Nolan in his next movie next year, Oppenheimer, he went to his special effects supervisor. He's like, can we make the nuclear bomb practical? And the guy was like, how it's gonna be difficult. He's like, how practical can we make it?
Right, like you gotta go contract with Kim Jong-un that you can go film in one of his test sites. That's
Right,
probably the only way you're getting practical
That
nuke
is so
effects.
awesome. That's a movie in itself. That's a movie in itself.
Exactly.
But for example, stuff like the Thing from 1982 and the prequel from 2011, it looks so much better with the prosthetics and makeup in the original than the CGI one, like in the prequel after. So
yeah, you should. Corridor Digital actually did a thing on the sequel to.
I love their channel. I watch it all the time. Yeah.
They did one on the sequel to The Thing, and what actually happened in post, when the problems that they had, and how they literally had a bunch of practical effects on set
and switched it at the end. Yeah, I think
they had to take them all out and rebuild them, and like just bad planning, and that's the thing is like I don't know if you guys knew this, but there's so many people at the studio level who have no idea how the sausage gets made. And they'll be like, I've been reading about VFX. What we do those? And you're like, that's not needed here at all. You're like, yeah, but I saw it and people like that. And literally you're being given advice how to build things from people who have no comprehension how any of it goes together.
Yeah.
They just heard something or read something in Variety and it's a buzzword and it's infuriating.
Yep.
And I feel for them because they don't know how dumb they are and they're not willing to learn. Like I'm very aware that I am not as smart as I would like to be. And so whenever I'm around people who know shit that I don't, I'm asking every question I can so I can, get a little smarter. But they are convinced they are very smart and they know everything, and then they just make fucking horrible decisions.
Yep.
Yeah. But I think sometimes people don't realize like games or movies or the fact that they happen, there's so many like cogs in the wheel, like things that have to come together. It's kind of a miracle in itself that that movie is like as good as it is sometimes when you have so many people working on it for like years or
Well,
months.
that's and for us that's
yeah.
like everybody compares everything to Grand Theft Auto. And
right, exactly.
they are
or
the
Saints Row.
literal they are a one-off because they have unlimited funds and they spend unlimited amount of time breaking employees' backs to make something unattainable by everybody else. I mean, really, it's not. You can't get there. So we get unfairly compared to them. And I'm like, guys, I'm not kidding. Our entire budget was like maybe a week of Grand Theft Auto.
They can go on Xbox and we can't.
Right. And we get banned from Xbox and they don't. It's just like there's with everything, right? Like, that's just the way it is, right? Like, yeah, fuck us, right?
Yeah.
Always.
I live there, buddy.
Yeah,
always
exactly. Yeah, but that is our life. We are now.
But
we
keep trying. Yeah.
We do keep trying, but Postal 4 is coming to PlayStation 4 and 5 in the first quarter of next year. So it will be on PlayStation soon.
All right, we got 3 minutes left because I got to go. Give me your final questions. Let's wrap it up, and I'm out.
Hey, Zach, who's better, Scott, Chris Owen or Zach Ward?
What?
I don't know. Somebody asked that. Some Russian asked that in the chat.
No idea who Chris Owen is. I wish him the best, but it's always going to be Zach Ward as Scott Farkas.
Zach Ward is the only Scott Farkas.
Yeah. There's
one and only.
One and only, yeah. Over 4 decades.
Yeah.
Bitches.
And he's still playing him today.
I will not watch a reboot, by the way. I will not watch a reboot without Zack Ward. So it's not going to be made.
Yeah.
At least for me, it's not going to be.
We talked about this pre-show, but how many people have Zack Ward tattoos?
I've seen at least 7. And I've seen about 20 Scott Farkas tattoos.
Are you honored or are you like?
I'm honored. It's awesome. It's amazing. It's not a decision that I would make on my body. But I'm also not a huge fanboy. I am a fanboy, but I don't take selfies with actors I work with. And that's it,
Right.
So if that's how someone wants, if I've affected their life in such a way that they're inspired to do that, I'm very grateful that something I was good. And so thank you very much. I think it's lovely.
Last question that's been pounded in the chat, and I've avoided it till the end. Did you watch the World Cup final?
No. I don't give a shit about soccer.
He's Canadian.
Football, basketball, baseball, hockey, highlight.
All sports.
Horse running.
All sports.
Dog running, lacrosse, golf, tennis, ultimate frisbee, the Trout Channel.
But you do care about beer pong. It's weird. Just the one sport.
You shook me at hockey. You're Canadian.
We're not all the same, you racist prick. What the
hell
is that?
What the fuck, you Portuguese piece of shit.
Well, you can say I like football.
There is a fan that asked, how did you end up in Postal 4? It's pretty simple. I texted him and I said, hey, do you want to reprise your role as the dude in Postal 4? And he was like, fuck yeah. And that's that.
And people love it.
Legendary story right there, my friend.
Very. Actually, here's how it went down. I got into my car and I drove to L.A. and then I ambushed him at a bar. No, me and Zach talk, not that often, but we talk. And, we saw people that were actually asking for it. And we were like, fuck it. This is a great idea. Let's do this.
Why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah, we had him play himself in Paradise Lost, and that popped the fuck off. So we said, let's see if he wants to play the dude again, because we've been trying to get him to play the dude for the last 10 fucking years. And it's going to happen. For real, though.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. There is no timetable on this. Good things take time. So Zach Ward will return as the postal dude at some point.
Oh, I will. You betcha.
Yeah, it'll happen in the 2020s. How about that?
And
Yeah.
now he's loaded with experience.
Yeah. Now that
20th,
Scott Farkas came back to life, postal dude Zach Ward is in the pipe. I think that's it, man. I think we got plenty of good questions answered. I think our fans are very happy to have had you on here. And thanks for coming on. Thanks for answering the questions. Thanks for your insight into the industry. You know, we're just fucking idiotic game developers here with a shitty podcast and a shitty game, and we love to hear about what happens on the other side, because me and Vince's movie knowledge was the 4 days I was on set.
Yeah, I think I can beat that. So
Yeah, you have a little bit more than that. So thanks for coming on. And if you have anything you want to say to the fans before we peace out, that'd be awesome.
If you want to support Alzheimer's, go to alzheimersassociation.org. For the rest of you who are anybody knows someone who's going through dementia or Alzheimer's, please contact them. They've got chapters all over the country. It's free, and they can give you a lot of support and help people out. Outside of that, have a great Christmas, have a great Hanukkah, have a wonderful holiday season. Be kind to each other, love the people that you love, because you know they're not going to be here that long, and enjoy your lives and try to be the person that you'd be proud of in the future.
Agreed. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Pedro. Thanks, Matt. And thanks for everybody for tuning in. We'll catch you in a couple weeks. See you later.